Morning, y'all. If you got time, just having a little coffee, having a cigarette, won't be long. This is for my brothers and sisters that run the asphalt, run a truck. Um, I can't count. It's not that it's innumerable, it's just a lot, and it's a bigger number than I'd want to count. How many people I know that run local, regional, over the road drivers all over the country. And we got industry wise, we've got some of the biggest BS going on right now it's ever been between regulations and emissions and this, that, and everything else. And the big thing for me is the ELD argument. Now, I'm going to kind of wave a flag here, and I run 150 air miles, so I just keep up with time. But I got a feeling it won't be long before we'll even have to have A-logs and those. But I was thinking about y'all this morning. I was thinking about a friend of mine who just had to park, and I'm waiting on my truck to get done. Got to moving back home in a few weeks, and a lot of moving parts. And I've gotten a habit of all my years of driving. I have a routine, and when you fall in that routine, it just becomes easy. You pre-trip your truck, get in, get your cab set up, coffee, whatever else. Make sure you got your paperwork, tickets, however it is you do it. Like I said, I run local regional, so I'm home every night and don't have to do a lot of the over the road stuff, but you get what I mean. But before I release the brakes, I typically just sit for a minute and just think. I don't know if everybody does that, but it was for a couple of minutes. You realize that you've got everything done. Nothing's going to spill. Windows are right. Climate's right. You've already done your pre-trip. All your lights are working. Or whatever. I've outlawed it more than I've done it legal, so that's not a judgmental statement at all. And you just your day's fixing to start. And then it starts. And then you hit the road, and navigating that road all day, the problems that you weave in and out of, in front of you, behind you, beside you, and those problems that you got weaving around in your mind. But I kind of want y'all to take a little comfort in your routine. And if you don't do this, and I always thought about the road in the morning when it's dark. It is kind of a desolate place. It's not because of the absence of traffic. It's just dark. And I found this morning, as we're in Mark chapter 1, verse 35, and it said, "Rising early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed." And I remember in the last couple of years, one of the hardest times God got a hold of me on the highway. I was in the truck, looking out that windshield. You can either get locked behind it, like you can get locked in your mind, or you can look out ahead. Sometimes looking out ahead's hard because you got stupid four-wheelers cutting in front of you and doing everything else, and you're having to watch out to take care of them. Because they don't know how to take care of them. They don't know what we're doing. They don't know what we're handling. Half the people going up and down the road don't realize how many heavy loads they pass or how many dangerous loads they pass. And the only people that truly give a damn about those loads and the people around them are us. I know a lot of lowboy drivers, tanker guys I've had conversations with about close calls. I had a couple myself, 495 South, just above the Worcester exit, a couple of winters ago, coming off top of that hill, and traffic was backed all the way up the hill. And when I tell my brother Hunter was in the truck with me, and we had already started slowing down coming up the hill. I was anticipating traffic. I wasn't anticipating that crowning blind spot. when I went left, I was heavy. I was, I don't know, 110, 115. And I went left. There was traffic that came around me as they saw me moving, and I folded in to the outside lane and went around two pickup trucks. And I consider myself a fair driver, but that was a miracle, buddy. I don't know too many people that hadn't been driving for a long time, and I started on the farm when I was 16. I'm 36, 17. And I've heard stories from people that have long passed now and younger guys that are just coming in. It's like, I don't know how it happened. And I listen to the stories, and they all have one thing in common. They care. Even those old guys that will just absolutely raise hell on the radio about traffic and what this little car did, or what this minivan did, or what that stupid bus driver did, or whatever. And then you hear them tell a story about why they are the way they are. We carry a lot more than just the 20, 30, 50 ton load on our back. People don't think about that. The rules tell us, and regulations and lawsuits tell us, that we are responsible no matter what. But the legal responsibility does not outweigh the moral and personal responsibility the real drivers that I know take into caring for everybody else on their road, so much as to so that they put their truck off a rail into a river or into a mountain to keep from killing somebody. And then you've got those people that have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time and put a truck in a situation innocently, and that truck driver was behind the wheel of a 40-ton force that ended a life. Jesus here was going to Galilee to preach. And he was going to work. Before he started his trip, as he started his trip, on his way to his trip, in that dark place, that highway, he prayed. We mistake prayer as just protection. When he knows your heart, and he knows the things you're worried about. Talk to him. Watch your senses get sharper. Everybody's called to do something. Not everybody's called to preach. There are men and women equipped in every facet of life to do everything, because there are things in this world that need to be done. My personal opinion, I don't think there's anybody that's not equipped that doesn't have an integral part day to day to the existence of this world. If anybody's ever told you that because you hold a CDL or a trade job, I'm sorry. But your purpose is the heart that God gave in you to care enough about the people around you to put your own life at risk, to take on extra weight, to take on extra burden, to get the work done that needs to be done. But wanting to get there safely, wanting to get home safely, and wanting everybody else to get home safely motivates most of you more than the dollar, because you love the job. People that have never farmed, people that have never drove a truck, people that have never been in law enforcement. I'm only speaking from the three areas where I've had immersion. Kind of like powerlifting. Might say I have an addictive mentality. Once you're in it, you're in it. It's it. There isn't anything else. There is no That's it. If you think about God giving you the desires of your own heart, He gives us the desires of our own heart. He sets you up to be in that truck, has you doing something you love, and not only that, you love enough to care about the people that are around you that you don't even know. The source of that care and that love we find here in the Gospels in His logbook. Because it's interesting how this separates here. It's Jesus preaching in Galilee. And rising early in the morning while it was still dark, He departed and went out to a desolate place, and there He prayed. And Simon and those who were with Him searched for Him. And they found Him and said to Him, "Everyone is looking for you." And He said to them, "Let us go on to the next towns, that I may preach there also, for that is why I came out." And He went throughout all of Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and casting out demons. This is a log of the work that He did. This is just like your logbook, whether you keep one straight or maybe it's a little crooked. We won't talk about that. But here you have a log of His start and His stop and what He was doing. If you read the Gospels, the way that you read life, something that they don't teach because it keeps people bottled up. You'll see that Jesus really does love truck drivers, because He set it out to where we can read it throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, and we can follow it just like we go back and we audit and go back and look at our own records. But He kept the record perfect and did it perfect, and in that perfection gave us a perfect book we can follow to understand Him and His habits. Not this motivation for perfection, but He gives us the courage to know that just like professional drivers everywhere, that excellence that we strive for, we can attain in faith. It's not perfection. It's experience and wisdom gained through time-tested mileage, bruised knuckles, sore butts, and shed tears behind the windshield looking through. I don't have a there's no solution in here meticulously labeled for every possible situation. Whether it's your daughter decides she wants to go out with a guy from someplace you don't trust, or God forbid he's another trucker farmer, or your wife wants to take a job and you're feeling responsible for that, or your husband's having a hard time with work and you're out on the road and you can't support him. The individual situations might be different. Life is subjective in that regard. But there is a solution here. And you can go back and look over this logbook and see how people walked, drove, rode, whatever verb you want to use, through life, and how they navigated those flare-ups that look a lot like the flare-ups that we have now. People don't think out on the road. People don't think in life. People don't think in church. They just do. They just go. That's why when we're sitting up there in the cab and we're looking down and we're watching all these smaller cars and pickups and box trucks just absolutely act a damn fool on the highway. We're up looking down at the danger they have no idea they're putting themselves on. We've got all the weight of that danger on our back. That is exactly how Jesus looks at us. But when we look at his logbook, we turn up and look at him. We know where he is. We're going to get through traffic. I've heard stories. There's a guy on here, I can't call his name. He's the rookie driver or something like that. I love it. There's one segment where he telling a story about somebody going through Kansas or something like that, and there was a storm coming, and all the veteran drivers get on it and stay with us. We'll take care of it. I absolutely love that. Everybody's got a story like that. First time I went up the notch ever in New England, I was in a highway spec, really powerful, not the greatest traction Western Star, with about 105 on my back, and I was going to Whitefield. And coming out of Concord, heading up, there was this, I looked like an international eagle. And I was going slower than he was, drastically. He come around me, and he said, "You all right?" I said, "My first trip up here, and it's snowing." And he said, "Get in behind me." He said, "Hang off about a truck length, but don't let out." I'm going to tell you something. That was a ride. And the whole way he talked to me. He was going to Berlin. I was going to Whitefield. This wasn't this guy. I saw him a time or two after that. Didn't keep up. He was. I think he said he was somewhere out of Vermont. And if you've ever gone up the notch in a truck, or if you've ever gone up in a car, it's a good ride. That truck had all the power in the world, but I didn't have any of the confidence in me whatsoever. And when you don't have confidence in me, you can't put any confidence in your rig to get up there like we were going. And the whole time, he talked to me. I didn't have to say a word. He knew what I was doing. I had that steering wheel and that seat. I had such a hold on both of them. If that truck had turned upside down, I'd have stayed in the seat. The whole way up, I remember him telling me, "Keep your RPMs up, don't lug it. When it gets here, shift here before you get there so you can keep your momentum up." Because there was a fair amount of slush on the roads, and I kind of got a story on the way back down about there was a DOT guy up there that used to do it better than others, and it was slushy. I didn't know until it was time for him to head toward Berlin, and I was headed toward Whitefield, that we were past the notch. Now, we've all taken wide open naps. You don't know how you got there from where you were. Didn't know, wake up in your home or something like that. It's like, what happened? The only thing I remember are his words in those taillights. And that's the best driving I have ever done. Because I had convinced myself, if I slow down and I back out of this throttle, or I get too close and he has to stop, I'm going to die. And I made it. And he said, "All right, be careful." And I just kind of snapped out of it and said, "Hey, where are you going?" "I'm headed to Berlin." And I said, "Thank you." And he said, "You should be all right when you go back down." He said, "They should be clear by then." He said, "If not, it's just everything I taught you in reverse. Don't use your brakes. Gear down, take your time, and you'll be fine." That was when I bought the truck that I have now 5 years ago. Been up there a few times before. I'd never been that far north in all the years. I've been up here since 2011. In all the years of driving, I'd never been up there up until 2019. And sometimes when you're out on the road and you're praying and it's dark, the only thing you can do is look right ahead and look at Jesus, follow his taillights, and listen. That's all you got. There's far better stories out there on the internet than that about driver experiences and what they've seen and whatnot. And if you have any doubts whatsoever that God doesn't love you, I know you've had an experience on the road that you can't explain. you survived something, got past something unscathed, and you're just like, it's not chance. You're doing a different kind of shepherding. You have a different kind of role. Because as we speed up in this world, and this is not a I'm not busting balls here and separating trades and making one different than the other, because we're going to get into that more as time goes on. But as the world speeds up, the professional drivers out there on the highway, most troopers, I got a whole thing coming for law enforcement. That's not a jab. It's just there's good drivers, there's bad drivers. There's good cops, there's bad cops. There's good and bad everywhere. But most of the people out on the highway trying to do a job, they do more and they care more than anybody else about that highway and those people on it. If you don't know how valuable you are, I pray that you do. I chose this particular verse just to let you know that when you're out there in those dark and desolate places, whatever highway it is, whatever storm you're driving into, or a blown tire or whatever else, he knows. He's there. He sees it. Talk to him before you let it get to you. Talk to him about what's going on at home. Talk to him about the kids. Don't get locked in behind that windshield. Don't get worried because you're getting old. Don't get worried because your body hurts. You graduate out of one seat and you get into another because you got things to do. You got people to teach. There's work to be done. There's so much work to be done. But the lessons, for as much as they are about how to handle a truck, y'all also got to tell people what they need to watch out for and how, because I know a lot of good technical drivers out here that don't give a damn about anything. There's a lot of y'all out there that care as much about the people, even though you talk about how you can't stand people. But like I said a while ago, you drive your truck into a bridge to keep from killing somebody off a bridge. Where you are right now is important. Don't quit. People parking their trucks because it's getting hard. The enemy's winning. The less safe professional people out on the road, the more dangerous it is. God has his people, and he knows the people in the world that aren't saved, that he blesses just like he blesses us. And yes, that is biblical. You cannot be saved and God still bless you and use you. The Bible's full of that. So don't get your panties in a bunch or let anybody get you upset and tell you otherwise. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy everything, because in everything God is there. Doesn't matter if it's the truck, the woods, farms, sitting in a radio unit, at the firehouse, hooking up industrial electrical work, welding, tankers, oil field workers, roughnecks. It don't matter. Everything belongs to God. We are all stewards of that. So everything the enemy is going to do is going to be to usurp that. And that is at the baser level. From having people quit to having people in the industry that don't belong there, spending money and having a hold on things that they don't have any business doing. Destroys the owner-operators, keeps the rates down to keep people in a struggle. That's how the enemy works. Don't quit. Don't ever quit. And if you've quit, come back. Everybody needs you. Your brothers and sisters out on the road need you, and the people that don't even know your name need you, because there aren't any left. There's no time more important than now to dig in and hang on. and you dig in and hang on and you do what you were made to do, what you were built to do, what you were hardwired to do, and God will bless you. Because saved or not, He is working everything out for our good and His glory. And I know a lot of good people. Who choose not to believe in God. That God still blesses because He's still loving the world through them. And their blessings are only going to be this side of heaven. And I hate that. But that's the truth. I said that to say, if you don't know Jesus, I'd love to talk to you about Him. More importantly, He'd love to talk to you about Himself and about you. And if you're okay with the decisions that you made, and I know that most of the people that would actually sit and listen to this have God echoing in their heart. He knows who you are. He loves you, and He has you where you are for a reason. And He made you who you are to be where you are right now, to do the next thing He wants you to do. Don't worry about how you're going to do it, because He's going to open the doors, or He's going to open the lanes, or He's going to bring the trucks, or He's going to bring the drivers, or He's going to park those cars like He did for Moses in the Red Sea, so that you don't die when the enemy tries to get you. I'm not dismissing the drivers that have been killed because of ignorance and stupidity. I know how this is going to take and come across. But a lot of the wanton death and accidents have come because of how we have not fought back against our enemy. And because, I'm sorry if this is heavy, but there weren't the people there that needed to be there because they got burned out or quit. It's not your fault. You weren't meant to carry it all. But there's work to be done. People think that preaching and you got to act a certain way, that's, your ministry is behind that windshield. Your ministry is that wrench in your hands because you're keeping something going. You're supporting God's kingdom from a perspective that nobody's ever taught you before. It's amazing to think that He took so many people and gave them and I'm just going to call it, and I know there's plenty of city drivers, but this is just from where I sit, the most redneck gift in the world of breathing fumes and bleeding diesel. All of us share a similar heart. Rough bunch. But so were shepherds. And that's who God came to first. The roughest bunch. There's a lot of things we can work on. He's going to work on us through that. I will say this. How we treat people that don't know any better, the people that don't care like us out on the highway, that's a good place to start. Another place to start is take that burdens God put in your heart and step out and fix our industry. Take what God's given you and show the world how to really make us safer, better, faster, and get the wages that we are owed, and get home. And when you go home, when you climb in the sleeper, just remember whose you are. And if you're not sure about whose you are, let's talk. If I'm not available, His children, your other brothers and sisters, and to those of you who don't know or on the fence or maybe don't believe yet, you've got family you don't know about, and they love you. Truckers, mechanics, farmers, loggers, cops, we do church better. It's a brotherhood. It's not perfect. It's not even always right, but it's better because we gather under a common theme, a common love, a common passion. And think about all the loving that gets done when a group of any of these people get together to do something. Think about who you are. Think about your friends. Think about your families. A lot of misjudgments there. Cliques are not good. Factions are not good. Division is not good. I'm just making a point. You don't realize how much like other people you are. So while you're keeping the shiny side up, keep an open mind. And think about how you come across. You know, we love the kids and their arm pumps. It's the best thing in the world. It's that childlike innocence that we had first. But even Jesus said, let the little children come to me. You need to understand more. Those desires, those children are going to grow up into the people that maybe 10 years from now you're bitching at because of how they drive. Your ministry is inside and outside of the truck. You don't know that you have a ministry, but you do. Maybe it's touch a truck. Maybe it's log a load. Maybe it's, God, if you've ever heard the Red Sovine song about Teddy Bear, go listen to it. You want people to be better drivers. Teach people to be considerate people. Open up your truck. Damn the liability. Don't worry about it. Take somebody for a ride. Let yourself get ridiculed and criticized. Make yourself available and vulnerable to the people that you're trying to take care of. And listen to this part. Take all that fierceness and all that righteous anger to the people that are putting you out of work and taking food out of your family's mouths and starving all the people around you that you're taking care of that don't know that you're taking care of. And with that fire, with that wisdom, with that experience that you have, take back what we've let the enemy take from God. It's that simple. All you got to do is be available, be willing, and be eager. All is a position of the heart. It's not just a sound that you make. He'll open the door for you if you lean on him. And this isn't churchy. This is, if you need to get behind your windshield, just stop and say, hey, God, I don't know you. I don't like the way things are. I can think of 50,000 other short, simple phrases that all end with, I need you. And I can't do it without you. Vulnerability, awareness. Awareness that you can't do it all. You can carry 20, 30, 50 tons behind your Peterbilt, Kenworth. I run a Freightliner Classic, not a plastic hood. Even a Volvo. You can put all that weight behind your back. That weight's distributed the way that it needs to be. Proper output, proper distribution if you're going with all the rules and regulations of the road. But if you put too much, if you put it too forward on the truck, you put too much on the steer axle, or you put it too far back and you take the weight off too much, you put yourself in a dangerous situation. You follow behind him and let him tote the heavy load, and he'll put on you what you can handle. And when you think you can't handle anymore, he'll show you that you can, because you don't know your full potential. We test our trucks, especially if you pull a low boy, a live floor, an end dump, log trailer, flatbed. I don't know too much about dry vans, but them reefer guys that come out of northern Maine with potatoes and blueberries, whoo, them guys run heavy. We'll know the limits of our truck. We know where the limits of that truck are. We can go from time to time that we really shouldn't to get something done. But we count the cost and know what we're going to have to do after the time. Jesus has already done that when he picked you to be where you are. He already picked a time and a place to call you because you had to go through what you went through. And I know that's tough, and we can talk about that too, but you had to go through what you went through so you could take back with him and for him what the enemy has stolen. He loves you, every one of you. And this message is for anybody, but I'm speaking to my brothers and sisters that run the pavement. Short, local, or long, it don't matter. It matters to him who you are and where you're at. Nobody can take that away from you, and there's nobody, no device, nothing can change that. What matters is what you want to do. What matters is, are you tired? What matters is, are you ready to be done? Are you ready to stop trying to tote all the weight yourself and do all your own maintenance and carry it all on your own? Let him bring you into the shop, and you'll come out dressed up way better than you ever thought. I was fixing to use a really bad analogy and compare a B model Mack to an R model or a Superliner or something, but they're both way better trucks than the new ones. But if you can imagine picking up your first truck for 10 grand with mixed match doors, paint, and hood, smoking like a tar keel, needs tires, and the fifth wheel sloppy, and you pull into his shop and you come out dressed in chrome with a new tuning turbo, an SPL driveline, new bags, a fresh coat of paint, brand new fifth wheel, and a shiny trailer to go behind it with a set of directions where you're supposed to go, and you ain't got to worry about the cost. You ain't got to worry about how you got to get there. You just pay attention to the stops that you got to make on the way. As long as you stay behind him and you're running that team, you can't lose. It's the interesting thing about running that team, because he's going to be out ahead of you, but he's also going to be your co-driver in the seat. But he's going to let you drive because he trusts you to do it. You just got to follow him. He's keeping record of your mileage. He's keeping record of your time, and he knows when you break down because you broke down, and he knows when you break down because you tried to overdrive what he had you on. It's okay. All you got to do is ask him for help. All you got to do is ask him for direction, and he's right there. And when I tell you he will speak to you, I'm sorry if you've been told that it's this thing that only occurs for certain people, but you want to commune with God, you will. And you will know his voice, because he said, my sheep know my voice. And I'll tell you something about God. If he didn't mean it, he would not have said it. You have a purpose. That shiny truck has a purpose. That effort that you put into keeping that truck clean, do all things to the glory of God. You have that truck, he gave you that truck. That desire you have to keep it up because you want it to look good, that brings honor to God. I know that stuff's bad. Vanity can be. Pride. Gluttony at the truck stop. I like to eat. Anger. Rage. At the wrong time in the wrong places. He forgives it all. And it's all paid for. And ironically enough, it's cool where I'm at right now. I wore this Alabama Crimson hoodie, but I think it's fitting. Because that blood's what paid for all of it. His blood paid for all of it. I'm reaching out to people now. It's what's on my heart, because the shepherds, the roughnecks, the truckers, the farmers, I'm starting with the truckers because y'all are my closest family. It's time to come home. It's time to get refitted. It's time for a good service. It's also time to get polished up. He's going to send you back out. There's a lot to do. Some of you may have to come off the road because you made bad decisions, health, accidents, or just getting older. You're not being put out to pasture. You got work to do. You younger guys right now, hang on. It's going to be fun. It's going to be hard, but God, hang on. Perseverance, is patience, and stubbornness is something that I think do us well. But don't lean on your own memories of what you've done going forward, because you haven't seen the strengths of your persistence, your patience, and your stubbornness when he's filling it for you to do something. I love you all. God bless, and please be safe.